Hello, fellow teachers. Welcome to the EdYouWell podcast, a show created for teachers, by teachers, with teachers. I'm Alex Bush.
And I'm Chelsea Henderson. With over 30 years of combined teaching experience, we're here to help you find balance in your professional and personal lives.
Join us as we dive into a well of information, exploring insights, strategies, and practical tips that you can apply both within and beyond your classroom walls.
So whether you're new to teaching or a seasoned expert, this podcast is for you. Let's be well
and do well
together.
Welcome back to EdYouWell. We are on our EdYouWell survival series right now.
Oh yeah, I'm feeling it.
Yep, and I'm feeling it too. And, you know, I've been reflecting a little bit right now that I'm in the survival phase about some of our past episodes. In particular, Sleep Well, Teach Well, episode 7. And on top of that, episode 6, Own Your Morning.
Oh, I was feeling so good back then.
I was too. And I got to tell you, I think that it was all a little aspirational. And although I aspire to and try to build that all into my routine, reality is hitting me in the face hard right now.
Same.
And so if I were to be listening to those 2 episodes that we recorded with my mindset today, I would be a little bit, I don't know what the word is.
It's not bitter.
Not bitter. There would be an eye roll or two.
Yeah.
There would be a realism that would sink in a little bit more. So I just want to bring that to the attention to our listeners that things shift and change. And that's why talking about the cycle, I think, is really important.
Yeah. And what you said before too about your habits, not being completely consistent with your habits because things are shifting and changing. And I mean, I can just rattle off the months in teaching where I know that I'm not going to be as on top of my habits as I would want to be. And one of them is November.
Yeah. And I think just keeping it in the back of your mind that all those pieces that we've talked about, they're really important. And making it a goal to get there.
Yep.
But let's also just be real that there are phases in our teaching year whereby it's just impossible. So with that in mind, and then we're in our survival stage, today we are going to talk about chunking and batching.
My favorite.
Yeah. And Chelsea is really big into this, and I've learned a lot from her. So she's going to share some awesome tips today, and I'll throw a few in too. Chunking and batching can make planning, marking, and meal prep easier so that you can free up some mental space and save some energy. First, what is chunking and batching? Chunking is when you have a large task and you set aside large chunks of time, let's say throughout the week, to complete tasks in chunks. And batching is when you set aside a chunk of time and complete a bunch of something all at once. To me, they go hand in hand, and I use both of these productivity strategies at school and at home.
I use them in both places as well. And I'm going to start us off with how to chunk or batch planning. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
So when I think about plan, got it. Good one. Teacher joke. Love it.
I thought that was funny.
All right. So I'm going to start with planning. What I'm going to say before I start this is I think of it this way. What can I take off my plate? This is very important to me, especially in the survival stage, so that I can clear up that mental space, okay, and save that energy. So something that has been extremely helpful for me is blocking off a chunk of time to fully prepare for those subjects that I teach only once or twice a week. I mean having everything ready, organized, copied, pre-posted for each lesson. Doesn't that sound amazing?
Yes, it does sound very amazing.
And guess what? It's realistic. I know this is an advertisement right now, but I'm telling you, it is realistic. It's the prep it and forget it method. So this is an infomercial now.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so here's how you can do this. When I have to teach these subjects once a week, sometimes I will leave them to last minute.
Absolutely.
And I used to find myself saying, oh man, what am I going to do for health tomorrow? Or what am I going to do for drama? Like I had things, but they weren't put together properly because I was like, oh, it's one period. I'll get that figured out after I figure out A, B, C, D, right? And then health comes along and I'm not fully prepared for it.
Or you're winging it because there's kind of this once a week. It's just not the focus.
Exactly. So you find yourself scrambling or searching for lessons. This can waste time and become a mind mosquito, especially if you let it keep happening over and over. I want to get rid of that mind mosquito. That's my goal.
Pull it out.
So I want to prevent it, that's right, from buzzing around in my ear at all. Those subjects that are 1 or 2 periods a week, I find some chunks of time and I block it off. So it might be a few preps or an hour after school. for a couple days, or maybe even at home, I lay out all the lessons. I prep them and I forget them. For instance, I teach health class once a week. A couple of years ago, I made a point of taking each lesson I taught and inserting it into a table. So lesson 1, the links to the lesson slideshow or the worksheet or whatever resources I need for that lesson are right there in that row of the table.
Mm-hmm. And it's a living document.
Absolutely. And I have added to it and made it so much better, again, over these last couple of years. So I'm just really happy with it. And it's tailored to my teaching style, right? So the next row of the table is lesson 2 with all of the links. And this is about 7 units of 5 lessons each, give or take. And it's all organized into this table. And on the days that I teach these lessons, I can open this doc, or in my case, I have them all pasted into my digital planner for the year. And so I just go in and I click and everything I need is right there. And it is my own digital binder, which is way more helpful for me because I was the one to flip through my binder, not have it completely organized no matter what I did. There was just papers in the wrong spots, or I couldn't find this for this lesson. So it is one of the greatest time savers and energy savers and reliefs that I've ever done in teaching so far.
I'm thinking about the students and how the students react to a block of time and a lesson, and how the way that they act during that time affects you as the teacher and your own well-being. And I always found when I, did not plan those subjects well enough because it was only one block a week, let's say,
yes,
that the kids could almost guarantee they were walking into kind of now we're doing this and like changing lanes and just not organized enough. And it almost devalued the subject.
Yeah.
Right. And that it impacted the way the students acted. So for the well-being of everyone, this chunk and batching on these kind of once a week subjects, it elevates the teaching, it elevates the learning, and it elevates the space and the way that people act. Everybody feels secure when everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah, it's that structure and that preparation, and therefore that confidence.
Right. I like it. That's an amazing one.
So let me just detail that a little bit more. Okay. When I'm prepping for this subject, I can sit beside the photocopier. I can click on all the resources I need for each lesson. So I can do this at the beginning of the year. And I just hit print. Okay, I have 28 copies of this. Done. Then I'm time bundling. While the copies are coming out, I organize them into unit folders, and it's done for the year. This is what I mean by prep it and forget it. It's all there for me. I just have to pick it up and use it.
Knowing that you've got those solidly planned chunks of time can give you, I don't know, it's like time to look forward to within your school day where everything is fully organized. And I'm not saying you're going on autopilot, but your trajectory is planned for you fully. And so it's these calm moments in the day.
Let me just add that I did use the worksheets that I had in my binders, of course. I didn't go and type them all out, but I did scan them through my email. They become PDFs, and then they're just so easy to click on and print. And once again, I'm not flipping through those binders.
No, and I like that. When it comes to fact-based information, let's say with health, that doesn't shift and change too much. The things that do shift and change, like what's happening in the world, new relevant information, that's what you would add to that living document, and you would be building on, what the students are presenting as needs and interests, right? But for the base curriculum, it's fantastic to have all of that ready to go. All right, let's talk about chunking and batching on all of that paperwork. And as teachers, during the school day, when we're working with students and when we're managing the class space, we really don't have the time to do the paperwork. Once your day is over, you might not always be in the mood to sit down and write those reports, mark those papers, that stationary work. So one of the tricks is to chunk and batch. Get yourself comfortable. And you know what I used to do that, Chelsea?
What?
Temptation bundling.
Yes.
It's the best thing ever. Have something to look forward to.
Make it enjoyable.
Make it enjoyable.
A little bit enjoyable.
So what can we do to make it enjoyable? We could make a coffee. We love coffee.
I like to put on the Cozy Cafe on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. That's absolutely the best. What else?
Some people have treats and only allow themselves to have a treat while doing something that they're not super thrilled about.
I do a mini batch, and then I say, okay, I'll do 3, then I'm going to go for a walk, and then I'm going to do 3 more and then go for a walk. I have some really weird tricks that I use to motivate myself to get the work done.
Well, that's really good. And it reminds me of the whole exercise thing where if you say, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes of exercise, you might end up doing more. And then if you say, I'm going to mark 5 essays, then you might end up doing 8.
Yeah,
That's always exciting and rewarding.
Manageable chunks of time. I can commit to doing something a little bit. It's when it's overwhelming and too much that I can't invest the time into it. What you'll find is if you do 5 at a time, 5 at a time, 5 at a time, before you know it, you're halfway done, 3/4 of the way done. And you're moving forward. So you don't beat yourself up and criticize yourself. Those mind mosquitoes, they kind of like get put to rest a little bit. Like it's like you're spraying some Raid on them.
Exactly. And when you're doing that, it's really helpful for your focus. I'm going to focus for this 20 minutes here on these particular, let's say, essays again. Okay.
Great.
And
great
then
example.
you're not getting tired toward the end. You're getting up, you're moving, you're doing something else, or you're going back to the next day when your mind is fresh again.
Yeah, ultimately, people listening, you have your own thing that you look forward to, your own lifestyle, and it's temptation bundling with something that pays you in a positive way. I once used a trick. This is I don't know how you're going to feel about this one. Once I would get something accomplished, if I had, let's say, 30 to do, I would pay myself a tiny little bit of money, and I would physically transfer the money. And then at the end, that temptation bundle would be something that I really wanted to get for myself and wouldn't normally buy. And that would just be when I really needed the motivation. And usually, guess what time of year that would be where I would really need the motivation?
Survival stage. Let me guess. Survival stage.
It is survival stage. Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's great. And it gives you that visual, but it also gives you, well, money in this case, and an actual reward, accountability. That's pretty cool.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Should we go on to number 3?
I think so.
All right. On to the meal prep. Let's face it, teachers love when lunch is provided for them because we don't have to think about packing another bag.
These mornings that are super, super dark, you're grabbing the proper shoes, indoor shoes, outdoor shoes, all the marking that you've brought
All that
home.
marking you did.
All
in
that
chunking.
Yeah, of course. And just a million other things that are hanging off of both of your shoulders, on your hands, and even on your back. And probably the most important thing to be able to survive the day is that you have your lunch with you. I can't tell you how often I don't bring my lunch because I've gotten out the door with all these things that I'm like, oh my God. And I don't want to go back into the fridge. And I just end up going to work and I don't know. Like that's best, bad. Eh? You're prioritizing everything else aside from your own, eating and your own health, which is why I do love it when lunch is provided.
Well, I'll tell you what, that doesn't happen with me.
No,
I have my lunch every day because of meal prep.
Well, this is why you're talking about meal prep and I'm not.
Okay. What I do is I block off a few hours on my Sundays because that's the day that works for me. I'll put on a nice TV show that I don't really have to pay attention to. Maybe I'll light a candle. It could be music that day. Depends on my mood. And I set the atmosphere and then I meal prep for the week. So I'm a fan of power bowls right now, which is basically a bunch of veggies, maybe some carbs that I throw into a bowl and I take to work. So I'll do my chopping. I'll make them all at once. I have a dressing that I keep at school and my lunches are done for the week. This takes some time and some chopping, but it's totally worth it. And there were even a couple of weekends when I was on a time crunch. Okay, this worked out okay.
Okay.
Where I took my food processor and I just took all of my leftover veggies and I threw them in there and then I just pulsed it a few times.
It's like a smoothie, but like
no.
chunky?
It wasn't. It was just chopped them up a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
I can manage this.
Too much.
Okay.
I dealt with it.
A slurry.
I ate
it was a slurry of veg.
Yeah.
No.
It worked. I got my food in me.
Good.
I haven't done it since. Now I just take the time to do the chopping, but it did work. Okay. So if you're really pressed for time, you can use that food processor to chop your veggies. I don't really recommend it though. And this is what I've recently discovered. The Stay Fit Mom on Instagram. It's mom_Krista. I feel like I should mention it on there because
she's getting a shout out.
Pumped about it. And what she does is she takes these 5-glass oven-safe bowls and creates 5 of the same dish. All the ingredients just go right into the bowl. And the tray of bowls goes into the oven for about 40 minutes. All I have to do is let them cool down. I put the lids on them and voila, I have lunch for the week. I've even used it for dinner now for my family and I am loving it.
I think that's fantastic.
For me, I'm a person who's totally fine with eating the same meal over,
I am too. I have no problem.
Yeah, you can find these hacks anywhere, of course.
Okay, my version of this is like tapas action. So yours is, it's pretty I don't want to say it's prep heavy because it sounds pretty efficient. And I love that there's music and a candle in the background because you're definitely time bundling and temptation bundling. Yeah,
I find it enjoyable. It's relaxing for me.
Well, it's something if you build it into your life that you look forward to every weekend.
Yeah.
Mine's more of like a tapas thing where I'm like grabbing pieces of food and just throwing it all together and hoping that calorically and, balance wise, it's meeting all the needs. Of course, I can't bring nuts. In an ideal tapas situation, there is a lot of nuts.
Right.
There's walnuts, there's almonds. Okay. But this is not happening in the school community.
No, it is not.
No, it is not. So there's a lot more like kind of cheese and dates and apples and
sounds great.
Oh, it's fantastic. And you put it all together and it kind of becomes a meal. And you can wrap things in cheese. It just it's like a mini charcuterie board, but nowhere near as cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Easy. Love it. And you can make a whole bunch all at once. So mine is more the tapas style.
You can take all of that. You can leave it at school for the week. And there you go.
So this might not fit everybody, but it can be really nice during survival times to not just take lunch to school, but to go home for lunch. So maybe you choose 1 or 2 days a week whereby you can remove yourself from the very stressful space and take a moment to go home and have some calm and some silence. Now, this obviously will not work for everyone, but maybe it can work for you. I think that going home at lunch sometimes is just a good reset. And another fun thing that you could do is set aside a day where you go out for lunch with your colleagues. We have amazing colleagues on staff who go and they pre-order lunch. They go and they eat together. They've removed themselves from school for that little bit of time. Sometimes it's a sit-down lunch. Sometimes maybe they drive around and chat. But having those little moments built into your week to look forward to can kind of just get you through those tougher weeks when you're in the survival mode.
Right. So you have to prioritize yourself during these stressful times. And with that said, let's review our takeaways. Today, the takeaways are short and sweet. Number 1 and 1 only. Try chunking and batching. Put the time and effort into completing a task, beginning, middle to end, to pay you forward.
Close that cycle. I love that. You might find that once you start chunking and batching, you can't stop. Do it for planning, marking, meal prep, self-care time, or whatever you think of. You can remove something from your plate so that you can clear space to find peace and joy in your work and in your life.
Thanks again for listening, everybody. And if you enjoyed this episode of EdYouWell, we would really appreciate it if you left us a review. This would really help us share information with our fellow teachers out there who are on this same journey of finding equilibrium in their personal and professional lives.
And also tune into our next episode when we give 5 game changers for classroom management. Keeping your classroom running smoothly is especially important in this stage of the cycle. Until then, be well
and do well.